Today's reading is from Genesis chapter 8, verse 21. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart. Now, what would you consider to be a pleasing aroma? Maybe a freshly brewed cup of coffee in the morning? That'd be my first choice, that's for sure. But to God, sacrifice was the aroma that got his attention. During the days of the flood, there was only one way to make atonement for your sins, and that was blood. There was no quick prayer like we can do today to be said, or there was no simple solution. The only way to remove the stain of sin was through the shedding of blood. Now, we're talking before the days of the temple or even the tabernacle, and there was no orderly way or a nice way to do this. A clean animal had to die on your behalf. Now, this would become the foundation for the temple practices later on. Now, what's striking here is that to God, that sacrifice was a pleasing aroma to his nostrils. When an animal is brought to an altar and has its blood shed, God calls that pleasing. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever responded to an altar call, maybe in church or wherever that you attend? I want you to remember something next time you go to the altar. Things go to the altar to do one thing and one thing only. They go there to die. I mean, what a thought. I mean, is there a thought in your heart? Is there an attitude, an emotion, a lifestyle, etc.? So many things in your life that need to die. But remember this, when you bring that thing to God, when it does die, it's pleasing to him. Now, I fly a lot. I go all around the world, across Canada, Europe, Israel, Southeast Asia, all over the place. And sometimes I get to my hotel, and I'm so jet-lagged, I'm so tired, and I have to get up the next morning and preach in a church or do television or whatever it is. And if I can muster up enough energy and get down to the dining hall, when those doors open up from the elevator and I smell that coffee, it wakes me right up. And I began to think, you know, as much as that does it for me to get me up, that does it for me to get me going. When we live a life of sacrifice, that's pleasing to God. That's an aroma to him. When I forgive somebody, that's a pleasing aroma to him. And so God is calling us as believers to live a life that is worthy of the great call. Let me conclude by asking you this. Is there something in your life that maybe needs to die today? An attitude, a thought pattern, a relationship, something, anything. Bring it to the altar today and let it die there. And when that attitude, when that lifestyle dies, it's a pleasing aroma to God.